The moment you stop worrying is the moment life starts moving in your favor. Worry chains you down. It traps your mind in a future that hasn't even happened, robbing you of the peace, clarity, and power you have right now. But when you let go, when you trust, when you release control, that's when the universe, destiny, and life itself can finally flow toward you. That's when things begin to align in ways you could never force. Today, I'm giving you 7 powerful Buddhist lessons that will help you break free from the prison of worry and unlock the life that's been quietly waiting for you all along. 1. What you fear, you create. In Buddhism, there's a profound truth that many people overlook. The more you fear something, the more energy you give it. Fear is not just a feeling. It's a powerful force that shapes your thoughts, your emotions, and ultimately your reality. When you keep imagining negative outcomes like failure, rejection, loss, or pain, you start living as if those things are already happening, even when they're not. Think about it. When you constantly worry about losing a job, you start acting nervously, making mistakes or distancing yourself from co-workers. When you fear losing a relationship, you become clingy or suspicious, pushing the other person away. Your fear creates the very conditions you want to avoid. Buddhism teaches that the mind is like a garden. What you plant in it, love or fear, trust or anxiety, will grow. When you fill your mind with fear, you water the seeds of suffering. But when you shift your focus to calmness, trust, compassion, and openness, you invite positive energy to take root. This doesn't mean ignoring reality. It means recognizing that you shape your reality by where you place your attention. So next time you catch yourself worrying, pause and ask, am I feeding fear or am I feeding peace? Remember, you are the creator of your inner world. And what you hold inside eventually shapes what you experience outside. Let go of the fearful stories and you'll start creating a life that flows with ease, possibility, and light. 2. Surrender is not weakness, it's power. In the modern world, we are taught that strength means pushing, controlling, and dominating every part of life. We are told that if we don't keep everything under our control, our plans, our success, our relationships, we will fail. But Buddhism flips this idea upside down. Buddhism teaches that real power doesn't come from force, it comes from surrender. Now, surrender doesn't mean giving up. It doesn't mean becoming passive or lazy or letting life walk all over you. Surrender in the Buddhist sense means releasing the need to control things that are beyond your reach. It means doing your best, taking the right action, and then letting go, allowing life, karma, and the natural flow of events to unfold without constantly interfering or forcing outcomes. Imagine holding water in your hand. If you squeeze your fist tightly, you lose the water. But if you hold your hand open, the water stays. That's what surrender is like. The more you cling, the more you lose. The more you trust, the more you gain. When you surrender, you tap into a deeper wisdom, the wisdom that says, I don't have to carry the entire weight of the world on my shoulders. You allow space for creativity, for intuition, for unexpected help to arrive. You let life support you instead of constantly fighting against it. In Buddhism, surrender is not weakness. It's the doorway to freedom. Because when you stop trying to control everything, you reclaim your energy, your peace, and your ability to live fully in the present moment. And in that space, real power begins to grow. 3. Anxiety lives in the future. Peace lives in the now. One of the most important lessons Buddhism teaches is that anxiety cannot survive in the present moment. It only lives in the imagined future. Think about it. When you feel anxious, your mind is racing ahead, creating stories about what might go wrong, what might fail, or what might hurt you. You start living in a world that doesn't exist yet, a world built entirely out of what-ifs. But here's the truth. The only place peace can ever be found is right here, right now. Not in tomorrow, not in next week, not in some perfect future where everything is finally okay, but in this very breath, this very moment. Buddhism calls this mindfulness, the practice of bringing your full attention back to the present again and again. When you come back to the now, you realize something powerful. In this exact second, you are safe. You have what you need. You are breathing. You are alive. And most of the problems your mind is spinning are not actually happening right now. The mind may be loud, but the present moment is always quiet. By training yourself to return to the here and now, you break anxiety's grip. You begin to see that the future is just a thought, not a reality. And the more you anchor yourself in the present, the more you discover that peace was never outside of you. It was always waiting inside, under the noise of your mind. 4. Most of what you worry about never happens. Buddhism gently reminds us of a simple but life-changing truth. Most of the things you worry about will never actually happen, yet we carry them around like heavy stones in our pockets, weighing us down every day. Why? Because the mind is a storyteller. It's constantly spinning scenarios, imagining dangers, predicting failures, and preparing for disasters that may never come. Think back to your own life. How many times have you stayed awake at night worrying about something, a conversation, an event, a possible outcome, only to realize later that none of it ever came true? Or maybe it did happen, but it was much smaller and less painful than you feared. That's the nature of worry. It inflates problems, making them seem bigger and closer than they really are. Buddhism teaches that when we live trapped inside these imagined fears, we lose touch with the present moment and waste precious energy on shadows. It's like standing in the sunlight, but being afraid of your own shadow. It looks scary, but it's just a projection. The mind's job is to think, but you don't have to believe every thought it produces. When you catch yourself worrying, pause and ask, is this real, or is this just my imagination? Most often you'll realize that you're stressing over things that don't yet and may never exist. Free yourself by coming back to what's real, what's here, what's now. Let go of the imagined fears, and you'll find that life feels lighter, simpler, and much more peaceful. 5. You cannot be in control and have faith at the same time. This is one of the deepest lessons Buddhism teaches. Control and faith cannot exist together. They pull in opposite directions. When you try to control everything in your life, you are saying, I don't trust. You're telling the universe, life, or even yourself, that things will fall apart unless you hold them tightly in your grip. But here's the painful truth. The more you try to control, the more anxious, frustrated, and exhausted you become. Control is rooted in fear. It comes from the belief that if you don't manage every detail, something bad will happen. But faith, true, deep faith, is the opposite. Faith says, I trust that even if things don't go exactly as I planned, life will still guide me where I need to go. Faith allows you to loosen your grip, breathe, and let life unfold with its own intelligence. In Buddhism, this is called letting go of attachment to outcomes. You take the right action, you put in your effort, but you release the desperate need for things to turn out a certain way. You trust the law of karma, the natural flow of cause and effect, and you let it work without interference. Think of it like planting a seed. You water it, you care for it, but you can't force it to grow faster by yanking on the sprout. If you do, you damage it. You must let the process unfold naturally. The same is true with your life. You cannot control everything and still have space for faith, trust, and surrender. So ask yourself honestly, Are you holding the reins so tightly that you've lost trust in the journey? Are you so focused on forcing outcomes that you've stopped believing in life's natural wisdom? Letting go doesn't mean doing nothing. It means doing your part and then trusting the flow to carry you forward. That is where true freedom and true peace begins. 6. Worry shrinks you. Letting go frees you. Worry is like invisible chains wrapping around your life. At first, you don't notice it. You think you're just being careful, planning wisely, preparing for what might go wrong. But little by little, worry becomes a habit, a way of thinking, a constant presence in the background of your mind. And what happens over time? You start to shrink. You shrink your dreams because they seem too risky. You shrink your relationships because you're afraid of being hurt. You shrink your creativity because you fear failure or judgment. You shrink your peace because your mind never stops racing with what-ifs. Buddhism teaches that worry is a prison we build for ourselves, a mental cage that slowly closes in and limits who we are meant to become. You may think that worrying protects you, but in truth, it paralyzes you. It makes you cautious when you should be bold, fearful when you should be trusting, and closed off when you should be open. When you worry, you tighten your world. You stop stepping into the unknown. You stop exploring new paths. You become consumed by what could go wrong, and you miss all the beauty that's already going right. You get stuck in small thinking, small actions, and small living. But here's the beautiful truth Buddhism offers. Letting go sets you free. Letting go doesn't mean you stop caring or that you become careless. It means you stop carrying the burden of everything you can't control. You focus on what's truly yours, your actions, your mindset, your compassion, your choices, and you release the rest into the natural flow of life. Imagine you are standing in a flowing river. When you try to hold the water in your hands, you lose it. But when you trust the flow and float, the river carries you effortlessly. This is the essence of letting go. You stop gripping so tightly, and in doing so, you discover that life can support you in ways your worry never could. Letting go opens space inside you. Space for new dreams, for deeper love, for greater peace. You stop shrinking and you start expanding. You become more creative, more joyful, more present. You realize that so many of your limits were self-imposed, built out of imagined fears. Here's something to reflect on. How much of your daily energy is spent on worrying? How much time do you waste playing out negative scenarios, trying to control people or events, or stressing over things that are out of your hands? Now imagine what your life would look like if you took all that energy and redirected it toward trusting, creating, exploring, and living fully. Buddhism teaches that freedom comes not from controlling everything, but from realizing you don't need to control everything. You are part of a vast, interconnected universe that moves with its own wisdom. When you align yourself with this natural flow, when you let go of your tight grip, you allow life to carry you to places far beyond what your worried mind could imagine. Letting go is not weakness. It is courage. It is the courage to trust that you are enough, that you are supported, and that you don't have to shrink your life just to feel safe. It is the strength to stand tall, open your heart, and walk forward even when you can't see the whole path. So take a deep breath. Picture yourself laying down the burdens you've been carrying. Feel the weight lift from your shoulders. Remind yourself you were never meant to hold it all. And as you let go, feel yourself expanding, softening, and stepping into a life of freedom and peace. That is the gift of letting go. And it's a gift you can give yourself right now, in this very moment. 7. Life starts working when you stop interfering. This is perhaps one of the most profound and most difficult truths Buddhism teaches. Life doesn't need you to constantly interfere. In fact, the more you step back, the more smoothly things often unfold. But for most of us, that idea feels terrifying. We've been conditioned to believe that if we don't stay on top of everything, if we don't constantly manage, fix, control, push, or plan, then life will fall apart. So we interfere. We overthink decisions that don't need overthinking. We micromanage situations and people that don't need our control. We force solutions, chase outcomes, and try to bend life to our will. And all of this creates tension, struggle, exhaustion, and ironically, resistance. Buddhism invites us to look deeper. It asks, what if the very act of interfering is what's blocking the natural flow of your life? What if by stepping back, by trusting, by surrendering, by letting go, you actually allow the universe, the Dharma, and the causes and conditions around you to arrange things better than your mind ever could? Think of a stream flowing through a forest. If you throw logs and rocks into it, the water can't move freely. It gets clogged, turbulent, messy. But if you clear the obstacles, the stream finds its own smooth path, weaving around the trees, nourishing the earth, moving forward effortlessly. Your life is like that stream. Your constant interference, your worry, your control, your fear, throws obstacles into the flow. But when you stop meddling, life begins to move on its own, in surprising and beautiful ways. Let's make this very practical. How often have you tried to control a relationship? Constantly texting, needing reassurance, demanding answers, only to push the other person away? How often have you stressed over a project so much that your creativity dried up and your energy collapsed? How often have you forced a decision only to look back later and realize that if you had waited, the right path would have revealed itself naturally? Buddhism teaches that there's a deep wisdom in non-interference. This doesn't mean doing nothing. It means doing only what is yours to do, and then trusting the larger forces at play. It means showing up fully, offering your best, and then stepping back with faith. You plant the seed, you water it, but you can't force it to sprout overnight. Life has its own timing, its own intelligence. Here's another way to look at it. Imagine you're holding a gentle butterfly in your hands. If you squeeze it too tightly, you crush it. But if you keep your hand open softly, the butterfly is free to land, rest, and eventually fly away when it's ready. Your dreams, your relationships, your goals, they're just like that butterfly. The more tightly you hold on, the more you suffocate them. The more open and calm you are, the more space life has to breathe, move, and unfold in its natural flow. When you stop trying to control everything, something magical begins to happen. The right people begin to appear in your life. The right opportunities start to come your way. The right answers come up, often in ways you never expected. You begin to feel less tired, less worried, and less burdened because you've stopped holding on to things you were never meant to control. Buddhism reminds us that this need to interfere often comes from fear. Fear that we are not enough. Fear that we might miss out. Fear that things won't work out unless we force them. But beneath all that fear lies a deeper truth. You are already enough, and life is always guiding you toward growth, even when you can't yet see it. Letting go of interference doesn't mean you just sit back and let life happen to you. It means you become life's partner, not its controller. You listen carefully, you observe, and you respond with understanding. You take action when it's time to act, and you pause when it's time to wait. You stop trying to push the river and instead learn to move with its flow. Let me share a Buddhist image with you. Picture yourself standing at the edge of a wide ocean. The waves rise and fall. You can't control the tides, and you can't ask the sea to stay still. But you can learn to stand with open arms, feel the breeze, gaze at the horizon, and trust that the ocean moves in harmony with forces far beyond your control. You are not separate from those forces. You are a part of them. When you stop interfering, you begin to live in alignment. You start trusting the natural wisdom of your own life. You stop holding on to your narrow idea of how things should be and open up to the greater, often more beautiful way things can unfold. So here's the challenge that Buddhism gives you. Can you let go of the need to control what isn't yours to control? Can you practice letting go, not just once but over and over again, each time you catch yourself tightening, pushing, or forcing? Can you believe that when you stop interfering, life won't fall apart? In fact, it might begin to work even better. This is the path of surrender, trust, and alignment. And this isn't just a thought. It's something you can live moment by moment, breath by breath. Today, take a deep breath. Think about one part of your life where you've been interfering too much. Maybe it's a relationship, a goal, a choice, or even just your own inner experience. Ask yourself honestly, what might happen if I stopped pushing? What might happen if I simply trusted? When you stop interfering, you give life the space to surprise you, to guide you, and to bless you with things you could never have forced into existence. That's when life truly begins to work, not against you, but for you, carrying you forward with grace, ease, and unexpected beauty. Take a slow, deep breath. Let it fill your chest. Let it relax your shoulders. Let it calm your thoughts. Now hear this. You were never meant to carry the weight of the world on your own. You were never meant to control every little thing, predict every outcome, or fix every future problem before it happens. You were never meant to shrink with worry, clench your fists with fear, or wear yourself out trying to force life into the shape you pictured. Buddhism reminds us that life is a flow, a dance, a rhythm, and the moment you loosen your grip, you begin to move with that flow. You stop swimming against the flow and start gliding with it. You stop fighting and start accepting. You stop getting in the way and start aligning. All the lessons you've just gone through lead to one truth. What you fear, you feed. What you let go of, you set free. When you release something, you make room for something better. You don't have to wait for the perfect time to begin living like this. You don't need to fix everything all at once. All it takes is one small change, right here, right now. A shift from holding on to trusting, from overthinking to simply noticing, from pushing to going with the flow. Let go of the fears that keep you up at night. Let go of the control that wears you out. Let go of needing all the answers right now, and trust this. When you stop stressing, life has space to move. When you stop getting in the way, life has a chance to surprise you. When you open your heart and loosen your grip, life meets you in ways you never expected. So, as you move ahead, keep this in mind. Peace isn't found by trying to control the storm. It's found by learning to rest inside it. Joy doesn't come from forcing your way. It comes from taking the path, one step at a time, one breath at a time, fully present and fully trusting. You are enough. This moment is enough. Life, just as it is now, is enough. And when you truly, deeply let go, that's when life starts working with you, not against you.